Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here on this Sunday evening, September the 21st. This is Hurricane Hub Live. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandagis, and tonight on HHL, we've got a lot to talk about. Gabrielle is now a hurricane, and new forecasts point it to becoming the second major hurricane of the 2025 season in the Atlantic Basin, plus two other tropical waves out there. They've just increased the odds on those developing into the next named storms. The next two on the list are Humberto and Imelda. We'll see if we get there over the next 7 days or so. One's up to moderate chances of developing. And then in the eastern Pacific, it continues to be very active. Just got the 14th named storm of the season out there, Narda. That's also expected to become a hurricane. All right, here's a look at our list. We just got Gabrielle up to a Category 1 storm. Humberto and Imelda going to be up next, and followed by Jerry, Karen, and Lorenzo. Now, being a hurricane now, our second of the season, when we look back at climatology, typically on or around August the 26th is when we achieve that second hurricane of the season. So we're roughly 4 weeks behind schedule there. And our third hurricane usually comes around September the 7th. And obviously that has passed as well. Now, the second major hurricane of the season typically occurs around September the 19th. That's forecast to happen within the next 36 hours. So we will be past it, but only by a few days. So we're pretty close to climatology in regards to major hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin. Here's a look at the season so far in the Atlantic 2025 season. We've had 7 named storms, 2 hurricanes. Aaron, of course, that maxed out as a Category 5 storm as it was just off to the east of the Bahamas, and then kind of moved in between the East Coast and Bermuda. And then we've got Gabrielle that's going to take a similar track, just displaced several hundred miles to the east, likely passing well to the east of Bermuda there. But again, that same kind of recurve track is forecast here over the next couple of days, really. All right, here's a look at Gabrielle right now. It's a Cat 1, barely. 75-mile-per-hour winds against 74 or greater is a Category 1 when you look at the Saffir-Simpson scale there. It is looking better on satellite imagery. It's certainly better than what it looked like, say, 24 hours ago. It's been moving into an area much more conducive, much more favorable for development here. And now the Hurricane Center is saying, it's not outside of the realm of possibility. We see this rapidly intensify up to a Category 3 storm right now, the max intensity up to 115-mile-per-hour winds. Switching things up here on visible satellite imagery, you can certainly see it's got that look. Definitely some good signatures on there in terms of the inflow and outflow aloft. And we've got it moving off to the north-northwest at a pretty slow pace at 10 miles per hour. So it's really able to take advantage of those very warm waters in that part of the Atlantic Basin right now. And then just off, it's still well away from the east coast of the United States. So there's Bermuda right under the 110-mile-per-hour signal there. Gets up to a Category 2 by tomorrow afternoon, and then it's expected to max out as a Category 3 pretty much right here at 115-mile-per-hour winds. Notice it moves due north. Likely the core of the strongest of the winds is still going to avoid Bermuda. So there's not even any tropical storm watches or hurricane watches up for Bermuda, which is good. And they're going to be on the clean side of things. Remember, the worst side of the storm, the dirty side, is going to be on the eastern side of the storm. So this is passing by to the east, so they're on the western fringe. May get some gusty winds, certainly some rough surf propagating out. And even though it's very far away from the east coast, we're still probably going to see some pretty rough surf propagating out from the center of that as it intensifies over the next 24 hours or so. 105 Cat 2 by Tuesday afternoon, and then it zips pretty much due east. Now, this is interesting here. We said that it wasn't going to be directly impacting land. And for the most part, that will be true for the next couple of days. But in the long range here, the cone does encompass the Azores. So at that point in time, it's going to be weakening, but it still may impact them as we head into the end of this upcoming work week. So not completely avoiding all population centers and all land. So we talked about rapid intensification. Let's refresh our memories on exactly what that means. We saw it occur with Aaron, and this is an increase in the sustained winds, the maximum sustained winds of at least 35 miles per hour in a day's worth of time. Now, 1 in 3 storms undergo rapid intensification. It's not all that rare. Especially over the last several hurricane seasons, we seem to have this happen on the regular. And most Category 4 and 5 storms see rapid intensification, but I'm not expecting this to become a Category 4, at least as of right now. The intensity forecast on this has it peaking Tuesday morning at a Category 3, 115-mile-per-hour hurricane. From now until then, that's well over a 35-mile-per-hour increase, but again, that's a little bit over 24 hours. So if we go from Monday morning to Tuesday morning, that's about a 25 mile per hour jump there. So we'll see if we do get it, but it's within the realm of possibility we see it overachieve in regards to the intensity. Now, in terms of model forecasts here in the spaghetti plots, very much in tune with what the Hurricane Center is forecasting here. Almost every spaghetti plot is within that cone. Yes, there's one outlier there that takes it a little bit farther to the west there, a little bit closer to Bermuda that you can barely see right there, but it's an anomaly. All the rest are right in that cone of uncertainty here, taking it off towards the east and then heading towards the Azores by the end of the week. Let's look at the two model comparisons here. GFS yellow, European model is going to be in the red. Very good agreement here in the short term, pretty much exactly right on top of each other. And then we jump out to tomorrow evening, and we've got both models showing the storm in pretty much the same area. GFS is slightly farther off to the west. European is slightly more to the east, but both steering clear of Bermuda, which is some good news. And then as we go out in time, moving pretty much off to the east-northeast and then headed towards the Azores. You can see here by the end of this upcoming week, a little bit of some model divergence here. European lagging behind a little bit off towards the west. GFS speeding up and actually heading to the north of the Azores by that point in time. Elsewhere in the basin, it's looking pretty active. I mean, we're, 10 days past the peak of the season? The official date marking the peak of the season. We've got two waves out there, and as of the 8 o'clock tropical weather outlook put out by the National Hurricane Center, both waves have seen their probabilities inched slightly up. Now, the one farther to the east here, this tropical wave that has not been tagged yet, this will likely be Invest 93L, probably tomorrow, I'd say. Chances have gone up to a 60% probability of becoming Humberto over the next 7 days. And then farther to the west here, we've got another tropical wave that's forecast to move off to the west and eventually northwest, possibly putting it closer to land, be it the Leeward Islands or the Bahamas, or even particularly possible to be the east coast of the U.S. Some models do indicate that, still very far out. But chances of that developing into, if we get Humberto, this would be Imelda. And you know what we say with the I-named storms? The I names are the most retired names, the letter I. I think there have been 13 I-named storms retired. That doesn't say every single I-named storm is bad enough to be retired, but it's just always something to keep in mind, because typically when we get that storm named the 9th named storm, that happens usually right in the middle of the hurricane season near the peak. Conditions are usually most conducive for a stronger storm, so that's why the I-named storms do get retired the most. But regardless, that could possibly be Imelda here if it does indeed develop. It's only got a 30% chance at this point in time, so rather low. Based on exactly where they are and based on the average movement of tropical systems, we're looking at this one here about 8 to 10 days out, potentially from the U.S. Potentially. Not saying it's going to come that way, but it's potentially. Right behind it, which will be Invest 93L, is about 10 to 12 days out. So a lot of time to watch it, and we'll see what happens with that. One thing that's certain here is we have got a lot of very warm water to work with here. These are sea surface temperature anomalies. This is the departure from normal. And wherever you're seeing the oranges, yellows, and reds in particular, you're looking at 1, 2, 2.5 degrees above where it normally is this time of year in terms of sea surface temperature, sea surface heat. That's available out there. The Caribbean is cooking. If we see anything coming out of there, or the Southern Gulf, that's got plenty of fuel, and even the Southwest Atlantic too, and pretty much where this one would be going, the one that would be that's tagged for 30% chances. This little blue dot here, that's actually the sea surface scar from Gabrielle. Moving over that area, moving it around, upwelling the oceans, extracting some heat from the sea surface there, and causing a little bit of a colder anomaly in that particular area. If you remember back with Aaron, I showed you the same map, and we had a very pronounced sea surface scar going up pretty much along its entire track as it was a major hurricane, because it was so intense, so chaotically mixing up the ocean. We had a very pronounced scar there, but that is completely recovered. All the heating is back in that part of the ocean. All right, out to the eastern Pacific now, we have a brand new named storm. This is Narda, and it will be heading away from land, but becoming another hurricane. Category 1 by midweek, up to a Category 2, and then heads pretty much due west. Now, what's farther to the west here? Hawaii. This is too far out to tell if it's going to be heading in that direction, but it is moving due west, so we'll have to watch it over the next 10 days or so, see if it does get anywhere close. They're up to Narda now, and this is the 14th named storm of the season. And just for comparison, let's compare the two basins. In the Atlantic, we've had 7 named storms, 2 hurricanes, 1 major. About to have 2 majors, with Gabrielle forecast to become a major hurricane. Almost double, more than double, out in the Eastern Pacific. Well, double exactly for named storms, but almost 3 times as many hurricanes out in the Eastern Pacific, up to 7 now. In fact, over 3 times. Math is hard sometimes. Major hurricanes, they've had 3 majors so far, so it has just been an overperforming season out in the Eastern Pacific. And it does look like things are starting to quiet down in the Eastern Pacific, and typically when that happens, the activity turns to focus on the Atlantic. So, and that's kind of noted by the 2 waves we're watching in Gabrielle intensifying out there. So we'll have to continue to watch that. But folks, after a quick break, we're going to have our tropical trivia. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Hurricane Hub Live. All right, tonight's tropical trivia question: which Atlantic season had the most Category 5 storms on record? One hint, it was this century: 2001, 2005, 2017, or not too long ago in 2021. I'll have the answer for you tomorrow night on Hurricane Hub Live. Just a quick reminder, we are here 7 days a week at 8 p.m. for the latest on the tropics. We'll see you back here on Monday.